Amritam Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll share my screen for the shlokas now. So we have two shlokas only today, which is 9.10 and 9.11. So before that, I welcome you all and I seek your sincere blessings so that together we can discuss some of the important words of Lord and pray the Lord and our Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas in our parampara, so that we all hear this transcendental knowledge with the right heart, and we apply this at the time of need, because these slokas are going to be very, very important. We are going to require them to use them in our life very, very often. So yes, 9.10 we'll start with. Mayadhyakshena prakrtihi suyate cha sacharacharam hetunanena konteya jagad vipravartite. Yes. So may I request some Prabhuji or Mataji to please read the translation.
Can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, please, Mataji. Yes.
This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Purport, should I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is the Supreme Will and the background of this material manifestation, but the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that of all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. The father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child, and similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species according to their last desires and activities. All these living beings, all these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, under their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling powder of the person. Yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, he has got nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his glance and ordains. In summary, material nature without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot do anything. Yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. This is very, very, very important shloka, because especially when we come across people who say that this material world there is some power and that nature is driving itself, and they tell everything, but they don't accept the supremacy of the Lord. Okay, so it is a very good answer to those people, and whenever we get these doubts in our mind, even then also. So this nature is constantly under the supervision of the Lord, right? This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction. O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, the manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So we can understand this the Lord does not have to do any hard work to create the nature or to make it function. Okay, he just the Lord just have a thought. Okay, and the material nature, okay, is manifested through his energies. This is what the translation and the purport is saying. So, and the Lord always remains aloof from the creation, though he is creating. For example, if we make our very good example, whenever our kids, they make some first time they draw something, okay, we don't focus on what is the quality and all. We keep that for all our lifetime, okay, because we feel that the sun is ours, and whatever he has created, we remain attached to that, right? Whereas the Lord creates everything directly and indirectly, and he is the knower of everything. Whatever, like we have discussed in one of the previous session about the very first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, Jarmadhyasya Yatha Anuvadhyat, right? So the Lord is fully cognizant and he is fully independent. He does not have to take the permission of anybody, and he is aware within, without what is happening. Okay, even after all these things, one of the 6 opulences of the Lord is renunciation, because even though he is creating everything, he is never attached. One of the great Maharaj, I had heard this lecture, so he was telling, out of the 6 opulences, if a person has any of these 5, except renunciation, right? Beauty, strength, fame, knowledge, it is very deadly, because people in our surrounding, they will try to grab that. So it becomes even a life threat to have so much of opulence out of these 5. Renunciation is the only thing which, if we have, there is no life threat. Okay, so coming back to this, that the Lord is never attached to this. It is like example of the rain. Okay, the rain falls at different places, but it is not attached. Some places, some weed will come out. Some place mango will come out, because it is summer season. So mango will come out. But rain has no attachment. What thing will come out? So similarly, the Lord is creating everything, okay, just by his glance, and he is never attached. Okay, and as we had discussed in our last session, we will try to see every shloka or every learning in the light of how it can improve our chanting, right? It was suggestion, one of the suggestions, right, last time. So as we understand from this shloka, the Lord does not have to do any hard work. He just glances, okay, and then the manifestation happens. Similarly, when we go to the temple in front of the deities, think, if the same Lord is glancing on us, why not will the love for God manifest in us? Because we are going to the Lord, okay, and he has so much power. He does not have to do any hard work. That today I will I'll make a Excel sheet and spreads the program, and this is how this person will do. The Lord does not have to do anything. He just have to have a desire, and his energies are there to make the things happen. So it is said that even if we are in a temple, and just by out of the fear of how the other people will think, everybody is paying obeisances. Why I am not paying? Just for showing it, just for pretending. If I just pay the obeisances, then also the Lord destroys the sins of the past 100 janmas. There is no bhava, right? We are just doing it out of how other people will think, just to show that I am also a devotee. Okay, the Lord destroys. Okay, how this is connected to chanting? Okay, when we chant, the Lord not only is having a glance, but it is said that the Srimati Radharani and Lord, they are dancing on our tongue. Okay, so when we chant the holy name of the Lord, okay, why will they not have their merciful glance on us? Okay, who among us went to the Lord, that Lord, please create this creation. We like, as you know, before the creation, everything is like Mahat Tattva, right? No, we did not have any activeness, right, to pray to the Lord. Everything is like the night of the Brahma, and whole creation is annihilated, and even Brahma was also yet to take the birth, right? That was the time of full annihilation, right? There is partial annihilation every night of Brahma, and there is full annihilation. After the entire lifetime of the Brahma finishes, this is complete annihilation. Who among us could go to the Lord asking, please create this material world, please create this universe so that we can again come and enjoy? No, we did not go. That's why it is called ahetuki. Because the Lord did not, he, out of his causeless mercy, okay, he created this world so that we could come into being and then get this opportunity. So when we were into that helpless state, even at that time, the Lord had created this universe, okay. But now when we are here and with the very little bhava, okay, no bhava, just with the faith on the shastras, okay, if a person just accept the supremacy of the shastra, that they are the word of the Lord, and it cannot be false, okay, it is there for the welfare of everybody. With that little shraddha, okay, if we try to please the Lord, why will he not have that merciful glance on us? So this is the message that we learn from here. Okay, Lord can create anything just by his glance. Let us pray the Lord while chanting that he has that merciful glance on us, so that our heart, which is full of dust and so many whatnot things, also gets purified. Okay, and we must also understand that why we have not been given that power. Okay, there is a small story, like if when a person goes and sits below a desire tree, okay, the person desires for good food, then wife, and then good ornaments and everything, and then he thinks, what if a lion comes, and because you are sitting below a desire tree, the lion also comes and then eats the person. So only Lord has and should have that power, that whatever he desires, that happens. Otherwise, if we pray that we also get that power, okay, it is of no use. We are going to harm ourselves only. So our nature is to be the servant of the Lord. Okay, a servant may demand anything, but a master will give him only that thing which is good for the servant. Okay, so let us accept our position of a humble, nice servant in front of the Lord, even if not from the heart, but just as a pretending also, right? We discussed 100 janmas, it destroys that sins. Any question or comments so far, like before? Because today we have time, so We have only 2 shlokas. If there are any comments or questions or suggestions, we can discuss. Otherwise, we'll go to the next shloka. All right. So,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
yes,
Yeah, at the neophyte stage, when we are just in a neophyte stage just now and beginning to chant, though we might be doing 16 rounds, but as I had earlier also asked, the total attention is not on Krishna. Still, the sins are taken over by Krishna.
yes, Mataji. Yes. For this, last week only, in one of our discussions, okay, 3.33.7. Please, I request you all, including myself, okay, please bear this number in your mind always. It will help us to be motivated from any such situation. Let me just, because we have the time, so I will show that sloka.
What is the shloka, Prabhuji? Sorry for the interruption.
Is 3.33.7. Veda base.
Thank you.
Yes. 3.33.7. This is from the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Lord Kapila is instructing his mother Devahuti. Okay. Aho bata swapacho ato gariyan yajjivagre. Very important word, Mataji. This word answers your questions. Yaj jivva agre vartate nama tubhyam te pustapaste juvavu sasnurarya brahmanujur nama grananti yete. It says, oh, how glorious are they whose tongue, not mind, not deep absorption, whose tongue, jivva agre, the outward part of the tongue, okay, whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if the person is born in the family of dog eaters, we are not born in the family of dog eaters. So this is called Kamutya Nyaya. We had discussed it, right? If a person has done LLB, has he done 5th? Yes, he has done 5th. Has he done 1st? Yes. Am I a fool? No. Meaning, why am I asking this question? If a person has done LLB, what is the point of asking 5th or 1st? That is called Kamutya Nyaya. So if a person born in the family of dog eater, if he can, okay, we will read it further. Even if a person is born in the family of dog eaters, such a person becomes worshipable. So neither we are born in the family of dog eater, nor we want to become worshipable. Okay, person who chant the holy name of your lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. Aryans were highest character people, right? A person with the highest character is called Aryan. So if an Aryan has done all the austerity, okay, all the fire sacrifices, to be chanting the holy name of the Lord, of your lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimages, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. So the meaning of this is, if we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If we are chanting the name of the Lord, not from mind, not from heart, okay, but just by tongue, outwardly, okay, without any deep absorption, then also it is a certificate that the person have executed all the good things, studying all the Vedas, okay, taking bath in all the pilgrimages, reading all the Vedas is done, right? All the fire sacrifice. We have done that. That's why then only a person can take the name of the Lord. And if such person, even if born in the family of dog eater, is better than the highest Aryan. So, coming back to your question, Mataji, there is a great difference between chanting with attention and chanting without attention. But chanting, even if without attention, is so much beneficial. Why will not any person pay more attention also. Okay, so I'm answering your question, but I'm giving a homework to all of us that we don't have to settle there. Krishna consciousness is not for getting settled. Getting settled is the business of a materialistic person. Or let me just rephrase myself. Even if a person is fully materialistic, even that person does not settle. He wants more and more earnings, more and more comforts. Even if person is not getting any, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter. Okay, this material world does not have even very little happiness. It is mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. I cannot recall the exact sloka. It is like one of the initial purports. Material world means no happiness at all. It is not even minor happiness. So coming back to our point, if a person, when there is no happiness, is still not settling and doing more and more hard work, doing more and more endeavors, okay, to get so-called happiness, why will we, the devotees or the practicing devotee of the Lord, who knows that the happiness is there, why should we settle on just chanting the name of the Lord without attention, when we know that attentive chanting is many more times more beneficial? So, Mataji, have I answered your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Yes.
Any other? Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, you just in the beginning you mentioned that when we are chanting Radhe Krishna, they are dancing. That was so beautiful, and that is very inspiring and encouraging. If you don't mind, Prabhuji, please can you say that again? I would like to hear that again, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Haribol, sure, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So yes, Mataji. So when we chant the name of the Lord, okay, then because there is no difference between the Lord and His holy name, and when we are chanting the name of the Lord Himself is there on our. How are we chanting? Through our tongue. And who is there on the tongue? Radha, Krishna, Rama, right? When we are chanting their name and they are there, okay, our entire spiritual journey is based on this fact. We have to be more and more convinced. Okay, every day, the one step that we take, the conviction comes more. Okay, let me tell you very honestly, Mataji. The moment you said that you like this, trust me. I'm telling for myself, and I can hopefully pray and say it for others also. When I heard this thing from you, my conviction increased. Oh, I just said, but I did not realize. You paid attention, so you realize it more. So your realization becomes my realization, and hence we learn from each other. So when we are chanting the name of the Lord is there on the tongue, okay, because there is no difference. And then when they are on the tongue and when we are doing the chanting, it means they are actually dancing. It becomes their dancing spot place. Okay. So,
Haribol. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Thanks to you, Mataji. Okay, I'm not able to see my screen. All the controls. Oh, okay. I think I had. Yeah. Any other comments or question, Prabhuji or Mataji, before we go to the next?
No, Prabhuji, we can.
No, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, but chanting Hare Krishna, we are always not attentive, no, Prabhuji. Mostly we find that our mind is diverted, and only very little time we can concentrate on the mantra.
Yes.
How to concentrate more, Prabhuji, on when we recite? Okay. So when this is a very good and very important question, Mataji. Parallel to what we discussed. So point is, today, if we have our bodily temperature, we have fever of 104 degree. Okay. Earlier, our temperature was 105 degree. Is 104 less temperature? No, it is still very high fever. The things that we have done to bring our temperature
from 105. Same things we have to continue to bring the temperature back to normal, which is 98.6. We know 104 is a very high fever. We are not settling it here, right? Like we discussed. So what we have to do, same things. Earlier, we did not used to chant. Today, we are questioning ourselves why we are not chanting attentively. This is your temperature of your means all hours, 104 degree temperature. This is the symptom of 104 degree. Okay, because we are not getting the taste of the name fully. Okay, it means fever is still high. What we have to do? Same things. Means continue chanting, continue hearing. Once Srila Prabhupada asks his disciples, why do you think I have written so many books? And different disciples told different things so that we can get more knowledge, our conviction increases. All were right. Prabhupada said, no, I am looking for a very specific answer. And then at the end, Prabhupada replied, I've written all these books so that you can chant. We don't see any direct relation, right? Chanting means Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here we are reading Maya Dakshina Prakriti. What is the relation? The relation is a very important thing, okay? Anything that we hear, okay, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and if we see everything in relation, how great my Lord is, to such, I mean, what is his strength? He's creating the things like that. That Lord, that Supreme Lord is dancing on my tongue. Oh my God, how can I get this opportunity? How can I be so fortunate? We appreciate the glories of the Lord in our heart. This makes our heart more purified, and a heart which is more and more purified can chant and taste the name of the Lord in a much better way. So the essence, if there are multiple branches of the tree, right? The purpose, the point where it all diverges, so that we can enjoy, we can taste more and more chanting. So we don't have to worry, Mataji. If mind is going anywhere and there, and still you are able to sit, it is called austerity. What is the definition of austerity? When we accept to do the things which are good for us, we may not like it at the bodily platform, but we know those things are good for us, and still we are doing it. That is called austerity. In Hindi, it is called tapasya, right? So all the best to all of us in our tapasyas.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So slowly, we will stop doing it mechanically and we will get into the true devotion.
Yes, yes, Mataji. Yes.
Slowly, it will not be mechanical chanting.
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Thank you.
We may see it very slowly, but if you, okay, just read the calculation of 1 day of Brahma. It is very, very long time. If you compare that, then probably the word that we say like slowly, it may not look so slowly, because out of the span of so many lifetimes, if within 10, 15, 20, 30 years, if we get some taste of the chanting, this is very fast. Because now we are not looking at on the scale of 60 years, we are looking at on the scale of many 60 million billions years, even longer than that. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Another question I have, Prabhuji. We do 16 mala, 10 mala we do. Instead of doing 10 mala, 16 mala, if we do 2 mala with concentration and with true devotion, it is enough, Prabhuji, or we increase the malas every day more and more till we reach 16 malas?
Okay. That Prabhupada said this thing. The day when we start questioning ourselves, why 16 rounds? Why not 16,000 rounds? That day we should feel we are advanced. Now, coming back to your thing, 2 rounds of full focus versus more rounds without focus. Okay, Prabhupada, we don't do anything. We don't know the scriptures. It is Prabhupada who has introduced us. Okay, Prabhupada said minimum 16 rounds. We will not apply our brain, neither you nor me, nor none of us. Prabhupada said 16 rounds. First, we have to come to the point of 16 rounds. Okay, if we have, with the grace of the Lord, if we have just begin our chanting, fine, 2 rounds, continue, but try to increase it more. Okay, because 16 rounds, there is no compromise. Any quality, any quantity, anything, our mind, we cannot give our any chance to mind to speak or think anything until we go to the 16 rounds. Okay. Again, I just want to emphasize one thing here, because we all have our learning curve, which is given by the Lord. Okay, depending on our situation, time, place, circumstances. Okay, even if we are not able to chant, okay, 16 rounds, we must have the desire that when will the day come when I can chant 16 rounds, that too attentively. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the next sloka now. Avajananti mamodha manushim tanumasritam param bhavam ajanananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Let us read the translation in the Bhagavad.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I read?
Yes, please.
Avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam param bhavamajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although appearing like a human being, is not a common man. The Personality of Godhead, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation, cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing more. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna is the Supreme Lord. There are many Ishvaras, controllers, and one appears greater than another. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller, Ishvara Parama Krishna, and his body is Satchidananda, non-material. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjuna's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. In so many ways, he is acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in the Vedic language also. Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.1. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tam Ekam Govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and cows. Satchidananda Vigraham. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.35. Despite the transcendental...
Mataji, can I request some other Prabhuji or Mataji, because
yes,
the purpose is long.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yes.
May I, Prabhuji?
Yes, please. Yes.
Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators on Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, but this conception of Sri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. Therefore, he is called Moodha. For only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy. As has been explained in several places, Mama Maya Duratyaya. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control, and whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal form. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception. So they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. It is clearly stated concerning his Yogam Aishwaryam, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and the finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the infinite and the finite, those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. Should I go ahead?
Let me just request if there are more devotees, Mataji, who want to read.
Okay.
This is perfect. Yes.
Any other Mataji wants to read?
Okay. Then.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, sure, Mataji. Yes.
There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative texts for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary human. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunaka inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kila karmani saharamena keshavaha ati martyani bhagavan kuda kapata manushaha. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balarama, played like a human being, and so masked he performed many superhuman acts. Bhagavad Gita 1.1.20. The Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in the Bhagavatam 10.3.46, Babuva Prakritaha Shishuhu, he became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now here again, it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands, Tenaiva Rupena Chaturbhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manusham Rupam, These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following words from the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.21 to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma stitah sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take note of this particular verse from the Vaishnava Acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the super soul. So, any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archamurti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect the other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. There are three kinds of devotees of the Lord, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and everybody in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is he not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and the impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the supreme personality, he is all pervading as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavana and he is always staying there, by his different manifestations of energy and his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere and in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Dandavat Pranams.
Thanks a lot, Balaji. So very long and important but so many useful instructions. So it says, foolish deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So as a true loving father, Krishna, who is the master of everything, everything has come from him and everything is functioning under his directions. We would have heard that Chatusloki Bhagavad Gita also, right? The very first sloka. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta smartam. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta smartam. Sorry. Matta sarvam parvartate.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah, please continue. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam parvartate. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanugatva. So everything has come from the Lord. So when we take the example of fan, right? So not only the fan, but the electricity to make the fan function, that both have come from the Lord. So that Supreme Lord comes among us and he acts like a normal human being so that we get a chance to associate with him. And during his pastime, he also performs some or many or few extraordinary pastimes, which makes us feel that he is not ordinary. Okay, so in the case of Krishna, in Dwapar Yuga, when he came, when like he enacted like a normal cowherd boy, and out of the love, the other Brijvasis, they always considered him to be a normal human being. And the basis of their relationship was the true love, unconditionally. And Krishna also equally enjoyed their reciprocation with all the cowherd boys, gopis. So, but when a person is materialistic, okay, he also does not accept the proprietorship of the Lord, like the Brijvasis. But the very subtle point here, which we must be very, very careful here, is the focus of all the activities, of all the endeavors for a materialistic person is he himself. Okay? But a person who is a pure devotee, his focus of all these activities, all the actions, all his thoughts, everything is done in the direction of serving the Lord. So, for Vedas, who is none other than Krishna himself, it is said Vedas have a very unique quality that any person of any faith can derive the meaning of his or her choice from the Vedas. Meaning, if a person is a pure devotee, he will find the nectar, okay, from the pastimes of the Lord. If a person is just a story listener, he will find so many stories. If a person is fault finder, he will find so many faults. So, in the same Vedas, in this context, there is the pastime of Lord Krishna when he goes to Mathura for the wrestling match that Kamsa had arranged for killing Krishna and Balrama. So in that assembly, when the wrestling match, before the wrestling match is going to start, people assembled there were looking at Krishna and Balrama in different moods. The normal ladies of Mathura were looking at Krishna Balrama as a very innocent boy. Parents were looking as a very delicate child. Kamsa was looking at him as his death. Okay, and whoever had whatever mood, there are some 10 to 15 different views that were mentioned. This is the very first shloka narrated by Rupa Goswami. I can send the complete context. Very nice shloka it is. So basically, the person looking at Krishna and Balrama were able to sense different rasa from that scene. Okay, it is similar to there is a very precious jewel. In Hindi, it is called Vaidurya Mani. It is like sapphire. So the beauty or the characteristic of that jewel is whichever light, whichever angle we turn that, like hologram, right? So in case of hologram, the moment we turn the direction a little bit, we see a different color of the same jewel, or the same money. So similarly, in that assembly of Kamsa, right? Everybody was able to see Krishna in different forms. He is Akhil Rasamrita Sindhu. He is the reservoir of all the rasas. So Kamsa was seeing Krishna as his as his death, because though he was also meditating, he was constantly remembering, but it was not favorable. What was the part that missing? The true love, serving. That was the part that was missing. Okay, and another thing which is mentioned in the purport is many people claims that that Krishna, who was 400 form when he appeared in front of Mother Devaki and Vasudev, that was the original Krishna. But then the moment he came into two-handed forms, there was a word, right? Prakrta towards the end. So many people wrongly thinks that from that point onwards, he was into a normal materialistic body. Okay, he was not the same transcendental Lord. So such people must be aware, okay, that if Krishna can decide to come into two-handed form from the four-handed form, then the same Krishna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra in front of Arjuna, he came in Virat Rupa, right? And then when Arjuna requested, please come into normal two-handed form, and I'm getting fearful, okay? Then he came. So it is his choice when he wants to do what, okay? A normal person does not have any this thing in his hand that what time he wants to take what form, and why should we go with the forms of the more hands or this materialistic like opulences? Because Kartikiviri Arjun, like in the fourth canto, he was the enemy of Parshuram. He had thousand arms. So arms are not the basis of deciding if the person is the Lord or a normal human being. So and similarly, like in the time of Rasa Leela, when Krishna disappears, he comes in the form of four-handed Chaturvud Vishnu form, and then all the gopis see him and then request where they pay the offices and they ask, where is our Krishna? And then when Krishna shows his hand that is towards this side, and when Srimati Radharani comes in front of Srimati Radharani, same Vishnu's two hands disappear. He comes in the same like Krishna form. So point that we are trying to understand here is our relationship with the Lord is of true love. Okay, we have to follow the footsteps of our acharyas because they show us the right path. We by our own understanding, because we can invent something what we have understood, what we have heard. If we have heard everything from our school, college, how we can invent something about the Lord? It has to be heard. That is the right way. Okay, it cannot be invented. Okay, and looking at the Lord who is fully transcendental, looking at him as made up of matter is the greatest offense which the Mayavadi does. So they are the biggest offender of the Lord. Okay, so and to understand this with the help of another example, we can see like a magician. If a mundane magician can do those things which our senses cannot perceive, and we call it as a magic, so we must not forget. I mean, who is the one who has made that magician? So it is the Lord who is behind everything. Right? So our senses are imperfect. Okay, we are always illusioned. And there are 4 defects, right? And we have the tendency to cheat. So with all these things, how can we come to the right conclusion? Thing is, we have to hear it, right? Again and again. So until we are fully convinced. And when we are fully convinced, hearing becomes our natural taste. Okay? We may, Maharaj Parikshit, right, in that assembly, 7 days, all of the sages, everyone in that assembly was given a time to break, right, to take rest or eat or do something, right? Maharaj Parikshit did not move. So that is the mood that we should aspire for. The day when hearing becomes our life and soul, that time Krishna is not far from us. So the mundane things should not only be painful to us when we hear other topics, they should be painful to the ears, and so much painful that it becomes unbearable, because until we have the taste for hearing the mundane things, okay, the love for Krishna will be very difficult to. Okay, we have to replace that time with the hearing more and more about the Lord. Okay, and the Pratima, right? It was also mentioned in the purport. The Archa Vigraha that we see, right? It is made up of like Satchidanand, right? So it is not just the idol which is there in the altar, right? It is Pratima nahi tumi Brajendra Nandan Sakshat. So it is not just an idol. You are the direct Lord in the altar. So we have to just use whatever we hear to understand how great our Lord is. Okay, He is descending among us so that we get the nectar. Yada yada idharmasya, anything that it is just to invoke our love for the Lord. So it is. With respect to time, like we are perfectly like 12:30 it is. If there are any comments, questions, or suggestions, we can discuss. Otherwise, like we are done for the second shloka. So kindly forgive me if I could not explain some part of my limits, and we'll try to serve better with your permission and your blessings. All right. So if there are no comments, we can probably wind up the session for now. Vancha kalpatarubhascha kripa sindhubhaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishya vrinda ki jai.